So first off, I just wanted to take a minute to thank Effie for having us and thank all of you for coming and spending a part of your afternoon to learn a little bit about SHEIN and hear about our vision for the future of fashion and our thoughts on how to do that responsibly in a way that manages some of our impacts. A little bit about me. My name is Peter Pernot-Day. I'm a member of SHEIN's global executive leadership team. I'm based in the United States, but part of my remit includes the European Union, including Germany. And so I'm very happy to be here today, both with with you all, but also with my team, and getting a chance to see some of the dynamic and exciting things that are happening in the German market and the broader European market. But of course, we have to answer the million-dollar question, which is how in the world do you pronounce SHEIN? And so here we have it, SHEIN. We started the company and it was originally called She Inside. We realized that didn't really resonate with our customers, and so we shortened it to just SHEIN. So if you're curious, now you know. This is the question I get asked more than any other in my day. So whenever we think about business, we think about what is your vision? Who do you want to be? What do you see yourself as solving? And I think for SHEIN, that is the most important question to understand us, to really know what SHEIN is about. And that vision is simple. It's we want to make the beauty of fashion accessible to everyone. We want to make sure that you can find the looks that make you feel good. You can find the accessories that you love. You can find the beauty and lifestyle products that make you feel confident in yourself. Everybody has the right, in our view, to express themselves through fashion, and we founded the business to make that possible. So my boss, Sky Zhu, when he started the business, that was the animating question. What's holding the fashion industry back? What's holding the retail industry back? And we're going to talk at length about our solution to that, but it was that idea, that animating vision, that prompted us to launch the company. It's prompted us to grow and to innovate, and it continues to animate all 16,000 SHEIN employees around the world. I thought it'd be helpful to put up a little bit about where we come from and who we are. The company was founded around wedding dresses. We originally started making wedding dresses that were sold online into the European Union and the United States. That has morphed pretty substantially. We established our own supply chain in order to meet demand for what we saw as unique products. And by 2015, we had moved into mobile, launching a mobile app that has been a key driver of our growth and remains our most significant channel, and one of the things that we're best known for is that engaging shopping experience on mobile. In 2021, we launched a unique program called the SHEIN X Design Incubator, and this is a platform that I'll speak a little bit about at the end of the presentation, but it essentially allows independent designers, independent artists to share their vision and their voice with the whole world, and we make their clothes and facilitate that for them. In 2022, we'd become one of the most, if not the most, searched brand on the internet, and we'd really entered into the public conversation about how e-commerce works, about the future of fashion, and about fashion impacts. We have launched, and very excited to say it's going very well, a marketplace opportunity where new sellers, new brands, people who are looking to reach our millions of customers, both in the European Union and around the world, will now have an opportunity to do so by bringing their brands forward on our marketplace product. And that's something that we launched in 2023. We continue to expand it in 2024, and we're investing heavily in it in 2025. And I think really at the end of this, although I need to update the date, I think the best for us is still yet to come. I think that as we continue to explain our business model, as we continue to share our commitment to being a responsible and innovative actor, I think that you're going to continue to hear very exciting things from us in the future. So let's dive into what really sets us apart, and that's something that we call the on-demand business model. Unlike traditional fashion retail or ready-to-wear retail, we do not produce hundreds of thousands of copies of an item. We produce 100 or 200 copies of an item. We take that initial small batch, we put it onto our website, and we offer it to our customers and say, do you like this? Is this something that resonates with you? If we detect a demand signal that is a response to that particular product, that particular style, only then will we go back and produce more. And by more, I mean maybe 800 copies, maybe 1,000 copies if we're really confident in that design. And what this allows us to do is to constantly test whether there is demand in the market for the products we're selling. If there is demand, then we can respond. But if there's not, we don't have massive amounts of inventory that goes unsold. We aren't overproducing. We are carefully tailoring supply to demand. And that demand-led model, that what we call the on-demand model, has been key to several features of SHEIN that I think have driven our success. The first is it allows us to really gather intelligence and understand what customers want. For those of you who heard me speak in other forums or have read about the company, we call this a radical customer centricity. It's putting the customer directly into the design loop. So the designer can come up with an idea, they can put it onto the website, they can gather and analyze intelligence, and they can engage in a conversation with customers. And in this way, design is becoming more reflective and it's less directive. Instead of the designer's vision leading, it's the customer's vision leading. And that makes customers feel empowered. It also makes us much more attuned to micro trends and regional variances that allow us to achieve economies of scale and some pricing advantages. So this process walks us through how that works. There's an initial design, we gather intelligence and feedback, we determine if there's going to be more small runs that are produced, we produce that, and the effect is this aligns supply and demand. This has three primary benefits. The first and the most important is we have happy customers. Customers can find the looks that they love, even if they are plus size, even if they're into a very small trend, even if they are in a community that has traditionally been underserved by the fashion industry. Because of our scale and because we are constantly testing and able to offer a wide variety of products, we're able to make our customers quite happy. And there isn't a lot of inventory backing that up. It's this large pool that's very shallow. I think the other component of this, which is really exciting, is that it's profitable and it's efficient. What I mean by that is not only are we able to produce clothes profitably and sustain our business from a financial perspective, we're also able to pass those cost savings on to our customers. The principal benefits of the extraordinary efficiency we're able to gain through this on-demand business model is that we can lower the cost of goods sold on a per item basis, sometimes by up to 40%, simply because we don't have to account for excess inventory risk. Add on to that some economies of scale we achieve through our digital supply chain, and we're able to pass on extraordinary savings to our customers in a way that is akin to vertical integration, but saves our customers money through these other operational efficiencies. And I think that's what's really driving what we call our pricing advantage because of these operational efficiencies. And finally, and I think this is something that is just as important, is this model is low waste. I think we're often misperceived as being a company that's producing millions and millions of garments that are just going unsold and are going to waste. And I don't mean to suggest that our clothes do not end up as waste, but the amount of material that we produce and the number of clothes that we produce is carefully aligned to actual demand. We are selling virtually everything that we make. And I think that's an important point to understand about the way the on-demand business model works. It's a good segue to some other aspects of our business that I think are as exciting as the technical innovations we've introduced through the on-demand business model. And that is how we are managing for impact. When we think about our role in the economies that we operate in, when we think about our customers and what our customers care about, we believe that they are committed to circularity and they want to see the fashion industry take accountability and responsibility for its impacts. We hear that and we want to be part of that. We also recognize that there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. And when you have a big task in front of you, like transitioning to a less impactful form of garment production, you have to have a plan. It has to be both detailed, it has to be specific, and it has to be measurable over time. And so in 2022, we introduced the Evolution framework. This framework focuses on 3 pillars: people, planet, and process. And it allows us to both measure our impacts and report those out over time so that we can be held accountable for what we're doing. I think that this reflects both our commitment to our customers of sharing what we're doing, giving them an empowered view on our company, and allowing them to make informed choices. But it more importantly signals that we're committed to being a responsible company. We understand our role in the community, we understand our role in the world, and we are working to address that. A couple of features that we've launched as part of the Evolution by Design program. We've invested heavily in solarization of our supplier partners. We work with contract manufacturers, and through something called the Supplier Community Empowerment Program and other programs, we've been able to significantly increase the use of solar power generation across our supply chain. In some cases, even going beyond what FTI has reported as industry standards. We've launched very significant programs to empower the communities our suppliers work in. We have this Supplier Community Empowerment Fund. We've invested over $70 million in improving the physical infrastructure of our suppliers, improving the lives of our suppliers' employees, and making sure that they have opportunities for upskilling, new training, and to really improve their lives. Another critical component of this is supply chain visibility. In 2024, we conducted over 4,000 supplier audits in partnership with leading European audit firms, including TÜV Rheinland. These audits give us the ability to see whether the commitments we have as a company, which are communicated to our suppliers in our code of conduct and our responsible sourcing program, are passing through and are being lived out by our suppliers. We conduct hundreds and hundreds of training seminars across the supply chain to give factory owners, to give workers the ability to understand what our commitments are as a company, but also how to build and structure their operations appropriately. And finally, we're working on technologies. We've partnered with a leading Chinese university to develop what we think is one of the most exciting forms of textile to textile recycling. This program and our use of its materials has demonstrated that we no longer need to look to other feedstocks like water bottles or recycled soda cans as a source for potentially recycled polyester material. This textile to textile feature is something that as we scale it and as we invest in it, we think could be a solution to a lot of the industry's recycling challenges. To give you a sense of the scale of this, we've increased our own use of this material by over almost 2,000% year over year. And it's becoming a core feature and a core feedstock for many of our designs. We've also invested in third parties. We work with a company called Alokia. It used to be called Queen of Raw. Alokia has a SaaS platform that connects suppliers with dead stock material and allows our suppliers to source that dead stock and put it into new clothes. As you can see from the power of our on-demand model, these micro productions is a great use for dead stock, and it's a way to further promote circularity in the broader garment production ecosystem through the smart use of technology. How are we doing on time here? 16 minutes left? Yeah, we've got some time. I think another element that I want to talk about in terms of our responsibility stretches back to how we think we can manage overall waste. And obviously on the pre-production side, with our feedstocks and we're working with new materials, that is a great way to lower our impact. I think that our production model and the way that we measure demand very closely to supply, and that allows us to not produce too much clothing, I think that's also something that's quite innovative. But we acknowledge that more work needs to be done on the secondary side and that those impacts need to be lowered. And so I would encourage you to check out our ESG reports. They stretch back several years. You can see how we're doing. You can see where work still needs to be done. And you can see how we are on a path towards our commitments of reducing our overall impacts and of being a responsible actor. So if you have the chance, I encourage you to go to sheingroup.com, check out our circularity pages, and you can read our ESG reports. I know probably many of you have questions about the business, and I know Effie's going to come up here and ask me a few, so thank you for bearing with me as I droned on, and Here's Effie. Good to see you, man.
Thanks, Peter. I don't know if you can hear me okay. Yeah, sounds like it. Yes, thank you. I think most of us have learned something, especially listening to you. I also teased this slot during the opening keynote because I think it's quite important for us to kind of unravel, like try to understand the business model there. And also, there are a lot of misconceptions about SHEIN, for example. Right now, you guys are the most talked about fashion brand. But yeah, if you could clarify one major misconception, what would it be?
So I think one of the central misconceptions about our business is that we are an irresponsible actor, and that the way that we've been successful is through cutting corners, trying to get around regulations, trying to avoid the consequences of our actions. And I think that misunderstands that the reason we're successful is we're so customer focused, and we have this technology and this approach to production that's radically customer focused. And so while we are certainly an efficient business, we're committed to being responsible because that helps our customers. And I think paying taxes, following regulations, partnering with governments in all of the major countries we do business in, all of that is something that we are excited about and look forward to, but that's not why we're successful. It's that on-demand model. And I think that's the biggest misperception, in my view, of the company.
Two things you mentioned are quite interesting for me. So customer centricity and on-demand business model, right? I'm sure there are many fashion brands that would love to be just as successful doing on-demand, just like SHEIN, but they can't. So what makes you guys so successful at it, and what's the competitive advantage that you have that others don't?
When I think about our founding as a business, and I think about that initial vision that Sky had, I think he was very early to realize something, which is that modern consumers have very changing and dynamic tastes, and that a system that you are going to build has to be built in a dynamic and engaging way to respond to rapid change. You know, some people use the word from tech, agile supply chain. I think that's actually accurate. And I think as an industry, as we start to conceive of this next generation of changes that's coming to e-commerce, we're going to need to be in a position to push the supply chain more to the center of the business and make it much more reactive to changing customer tastes. We've been working on that for 10 years, but I do think that that mindset of putting the supply chain at the center of the business and integrating customers and designers into it is really key to success. But I don't think it's something that's magic. I think any company that has the capital, the interest, and the vision to do this will be able to execute on it. And if you don't, there's our marketplace product, so you can still meet and interact with our millions of customers around the world and get some of the advantages of our tech stack without having to invest yourself.
That makes perfect sense. And balancing speed, sustainability, and quality is a challenge, I believe, especially given the fact that you at SHEIN can move from a trend to production within as short as 10 days. So how do you balance these three aspects?
In a retail business, in our view, if you're going to be customer-centric, you have to show customers value for money. What does that mean? It doesn't mean producing low-quality, dangerous products. It means producing garments that they look good in, that they love, that they feel safe in, and that last. And so our model, while it is fast, it does not cut corners on quality. We enforce rigid quality inspections across the organization. And we're very confident that this is working, because if it didn't, we wouldn't see the customer repetition that we do. Our lifetime values, our churn rates would be much, much higher. And what we've seen instead is the opposite, that when customers engage with the platform, when they understand what it does, when they are connected with high quality SHEIN branded products or high quality marketplace seller products, they love them and they come back. That's how you earn and keep customer trust. And that's why quality is so important to us. And it can be done at speed. Leveraging these technologies that we've talked about, it is possible.
Yeah. I want to also talk about a little bit of the ethical sourcing aspect. And I know that you're doing quite a bit of communications in terms of telling the rest of the world, and we talked about the misconceptions. But let me ask you, how does SHEIN approach fair wages, factory oversight, and accountability?
I think that these questions are some of the most important questions for any retail fashion company. And this is an issue that I think we all have to address.
Yeah.
Our approach is simple. We have stated values in our supplier code of conduct. We then hold our suppliers accountable to that through rigorous and sustained audits. As I said, we did 4,000 audits in 2024. We did almost 3,500 in 2023. We're constantly surveilling our supplier partners. And then we've also introduced an economic incentive. So we give them social responsibility scores of an A through a D. And in the event that they are competing for jobs on our platform, companies with higher scores get better offers, they get more offers, and they become more ingrained and better partners for us. Yeah. And the idea is to drive change to the entire ecosystem and report on it candidly. So as I mentioned, the ESG report, we report on the results of our audits. You can go and look at them and see over time how we're doing and how we are improving the supply chain and particularly improving the lives of our supplier employees. We did a wage study of our suppliers, and we found that we are paying above average in most of the markets that we sell in. And I think that we are very focused on making sure that wages are paid and that overtime is not abused. We want to make sure that our suppliers and our supplier employees are doing the right thing by their employees.
Yeah. There's also the element of growing scrutiny in terms of fast fashion and the regulation. So what I want to ask you is, if there were potential tariffs and sustainability laws that are introduced in that scenario, how's SHEIN prepared? And are you considering localized production, for example, European warehouses, or new partnerships to navigate such potential challenges?
So there's a lot in there. So well, I think the short answer is we welcome these opportunities to engage with regulators, and we comply with the laws in every country that we do business with, including the European Union. And I think as laws like the DSA, as laws like the ESPR, as local laws in Germany and in France come online, we don't see those as a competitive threat. We see those as an opportunity to demonstrate our value for being responsible. Yeah. In terms of how we're dealing with changing trade dynamics and international trade, I think it's a very frothy moment. It's very difficult to project what will happen. But since 2021, we've been investing in warehouse facilities in Poland. We have warehouse facilities in the United States. We have major operational teams on the ground in Germany, in France, in Italy, in the United Kingdom, as well as in the United States, Brazil. So we truly have a global network that I think is well designed to absorb some of these shocks. But I think the question behind the question is, are you able to offer clothes at your price point because you are trying to dodge customs duties or you're not paying taxes? And our business is not based on that. We pay our taxes, we pay duties, and as those change, we continue to see that we will be competitive. In the United States, where the so-called de minimis entry program has been under very serious discussion, let's say, we've been calling for over 2 years to reform it. We don't think that customs duties are key to our business. We think it's that customer focus. And we're continuing to think that given our tech stack and our capabilities, whatever the duties are, we're prepared to pay them and to continue to compete.
Yeah. One of the big trends that we're seeing right now in e-commerce is, of course, AI, right? So AI-based personalization, hyper-personalization. We've seen a lot of speaking slots on this. We've mentioned this during the opening. I want to ask you, how does SHEIN leverage the cutting-edge AI technology in terms of a better customer experience? Or do you see other trends next to AI that are relevant for you?
So I think one of the ways in which we've been using AI is in the supplier management system that we talked about, the sort of core system around the on-demand model and how we produce small batches. How that works is it's essentially an orchestration system where algorithms are identifying suppliers that have capacity and the raw materials necessary to get that supplier what they need automatically, and it facilitates the efficient production of clothing at the cut, make, and trim, or some people call them tier 1 suppliers. And that's one of the principal innovations. But that innovation is also interconnected to our mobile application and our web storefront, both of which utilize recommender systems to try to move past what we call at SHEIN high intention search. We want to have an engaging shopping experience that focuses on browsing. So as users interact with the mobile app, as users interact with the website, the content is tailored to what we think will be most interesting to them or what they've demonstrated interest in the past, rather than having them go to a search bar and type in what they want. We're trying to use that more and more as a form of getting feedback on what customers are looking for. But because that's connected directly to the supplier management system, the entire supply chain has visibility into what is emerging as trending in any market where a SHEIN app or a SHEIN storefront is available online. And so I think that those are some of the key technologies that we're using, but these aren't necessarily cutting edge. I mean, these are technologies that I think really emerged in the early 2000s, technologies like machine learning, audience segmentation, statistical analysis and probability analysis. All of these things I think have existed for quite a long time. We've just put them to extraordinary use. And so our takeaway on this is the technology stack is important, but what's really, really important is the human element. And having those human designers and having them be able to respond to demand signals generated by these systems, that's really, really critical. I call it the analog part of the business.
Peter, on a personal note, I want to thank you that you took a flight and accepted my invitation.
Thanks for having us.
You took a flight all the way to Germany and Berlin and attended our event, and you've been fantastic. Thank you so much for the insights that you've provided, and also answering my questions, which were probably not the least critical. I hope everyone enjoyed the answers also. I'd like to encourage anyone that would like to talk to Peter to do so right after we're done here. And I want to thank you once again for being with us.
Effie, it was a real pleasure. And thank you all for having me and listening to our talk. I hope I answered some of your questions, but look forward to engaging with many of you in the future. And thanks again for having us.
Thank you.